a Jiu-Jitsu specific workout for you guys to do today. It's gonna focus primarily on hip mobility. I will do another video later that will focus on shoulder stability and strengthening the shoulders. And then I'll do another one, based on legs, another one based on core. So kind of target all these different areas of the body that we utilize a lot in Jiu-Jitsu. So today we'll be focusing on the hips. There's 7 different exercises that you'll be doing in this workout. I call it a workout, but really it's just mobility work. You can think of it as technique practice. A lot of the exercises you'll be doing today are exercises that we do in Jiu-Jitsu regularly. So it'll be nice to kind of get those reps in. And there are obviously things that you can do alone. If you want to make this into a workout, I would highly recommend setting a timer for 1 minute and repeating that 7 times. And then you will do the first exercise for 1 minute, and then you'll go right to the second exercise, do that for a minute, then to the third, do that for a minute, so on and so forth, until you've done all 7 exercises, and that'll make it one 7-minute round. Maybe repeat that 3-4 times until you get a nice sweat in. Your hips will feel real nice after that. Hip mobility is very important, not just in Jiu-Jitsu, but in life in general. I have very tight hips, so all of these exercises are very challenging for me, but subsequently they're very beneficial for me. If you have tight hips, you'll usually also have lower back pain. So the looser your hips are, the less likely you're gonna suffer from low back pain. So all of this will help out with that. Again, you can structure this as a workout, or you can just kind of go through each exercise and kind of play around with them. There's no really right or wrong way to do these exercises because you're not working with weight. It's very unlikely that you're going to injure yourself doing any of these. There's obviously better and worse ways to do these exercises, but really I'd just rather have you guys get the reps in and kind of play around with it, work up a sweat, get some nice hip mobility work in. So I'll go through each of the exercises. I hope you guys enjoy.
So the first exercise you're going to be doing is a squat. If you can squat with both of your heels flat on the ground, then you should do so. As you can see here, I need a little bit of a heel lift, so I put my heels up on the edge of the mats. You can use a rolled up towel or anything else. You can see here I have my hands in like a prayer position, and I'm sort of flexing my elbows open, which opens my knees and my hips. I'm also doing this rocking motion, kind of going back and forth, driving forward with one of my shins, slightly lifting the opposite heel, which creates a nice sort of stretch in the ankle flexors as well as the hip flexors. Next, this is just another alternative. If you don't have a lift, you can use a counterbalance. I'm using a 32K kettlebell here. You can also use any sort of stationary pole, even a doorknob. And I'm just doing the same thing here. I'm flexing my elbows against my knees, which opens up my hips more. I'm kind of rocking back and forth, making sure my shoulders are back and my back is as straight as possible. Again, you can do these exercises, and you should do these exercises if you can keep your heels on the floor without a lift or without a counterbalance. If you can't, then you can do one of these options. Next up, we have squat with knee drops. Just like the other squats, if you can squat with your heels touching the ground without having your hands behind you, you should do so. Just keep in mind for this exercise, you need to keep both of your heels on the ground while you're dropping your knee. You're just rocking back and forth, tapping one knee on the ground and tapping the other. As you can see here, again, both of my heels must stay on the ground. You'll find yourself wanting to lift one heel while dropping one knee, but you need to make sure that both your heels stay on the ground. You can add little arm lifts and sort of reaching like I am here, or like in the beginning of the exercise, you can just keep your arms still. It doesn't really matter. You just want to be comfortable while dropping your knees. Next, we have front warrior, so I'm stepping one foot back. You can see here that I'm putting one hand on my belly and one hand on my lower back. That's to make sure my ribs are relaxed and my lower back is nice and straight. Next, I'm going to bring my arms up overhead. Once I feel like my hips are in place, you should feel a big stretch in your hip flexor right now. I'm reaching my arms overhead, and then I'm going to move forward into the forward lunge position by straightening my back leg. Reaching all 10 digits forward, I bring my hands together in prayer position, bring them down to my chest, and step forward. I repeat that same motion on the other side. So setting my hips, setting my ribs, setting my back, hands overhead. lunging forward by straightening that back leg, bringing my hands into prayer, and coming up to standing. Next, we have hip openers. You can do these stationary like I'm doing now. I'm using my arms for counterbalance. I am making a big circle with my knee and bringing it from the outside to the inside. Again, this is stationary. It looks kind of goofy. You can also do it walking, which is much easier. As you can see here, I'm not crossing my feet. I'm walking like I normally would, right? One foot in front of the other. When people do this, they tend to want to cross their feet. It's not necessary. Notice how my shins stay vertical and my heels stay pulled toward me. I'm not kicking my leg out. I'm just making big circles with my knees. This is the same thing, it's just backwards. So I'm going in to out. Notice I'm also using my hands as a counterbalance here. You might feel a little off balance the first couple times you do this. And you can also do it walking just like the last one. Notice that in both I'm also flexing my toes towards my knees. I think of it as like I have a bucket strapped around my foot and I'm lifting that bucket over a small hurdle or something. Again, going in, out, in, out. Next, penetration step. So this is just a basic wrestling technique. I'm dropping my front knee, bringing my back foot up, and then coming up to standing. Notice here that my back is straight and my energy is going forward. Next, I have arm drags. So you'll see this movement I'm doing with my arms. It looks kind of goofy, but what it really is, it's simulating me breaking the wrist and grabbing the tricep and dragging it across the body. Notice that my butt lifts off the mats as I'm pulling my hips towards my heels, and I'm always favoring one side, because when you do an arm drag, you're doing an arm drag on one side. Next, we have side to side stand-ups. So I start with my hips on the ground, I pull myself forward and up, and then I just switch to the side. This is something that's hard to explain verbally. You just kind of got to give it a shot, try it, switching back and forth. You're basically starting with one knee down, lifting, and then dropping the opposite knee, and then dropping on that hip. You'll find a nice little flow. Rock forward as much as you need by using the counterweight of your hands. Just don't place your hands on the mats. This is a really great exercise for hip opening. And then finally, we have leg circles. We've all seen these before. If you do jiu-jitsu, it's a great leg dexterity drill. Notice how I'm not just moving my legs, I'm moving my hips. My hips are pivoting as I'm doing this. You can do one direction and then the other, but one's going to be easier than the other. And that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Do these drills solo. You can film them, send them to me. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and have fun.